My guest today is Jennifer Urwin here on the Breakout Summit. And as you remember, nice wave, we're all about helping men to overcome fears, gain clarity of mind, and follow a strategic plan to achieve the seemingly impossible. And I'll tell you what, speaking of seemingly impossible, our guest today, Jennifer Urwin, has got a lot to say about that. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to get into what you do, which is pretty amazing. You are the founder of the Speakers Representation, and you have
Yep.
this most amazing tool called the Club Calendar. So we are going to talk about that. Give us a little background and tell us just a little bit about what that is.
Right. So before I came up with the idea for the club calendar, I was an agent for many years working with speakers one-on-one and getting like really into the industry and finding out what services were available for speakers. I really realized that there's like a gap in services. So a lot of the services that they provide now, there's a middleman or you have to go through a bureau and everyone ends up paying commission or there's some sort of hidden fee.
Right.
On top of, your annual arrangement with them. So what we did is seeing that gap and what people needed versus what they already had, we took advantage and decided that we would connect speakers directly with event planners with no middleman. So
Right.
they could book their own events. We teach them how to do it with tools and resources, and we are supportive for throughout the whole process for them. That way, they benefit more, like profit more from their work. They learn to sell and they learn how to, negotiate stuff, instead of having someone else do it for them. And it's been extremely successful and people just love the service. We do keep it small because we don't want to overpopulate and take on too much because you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So it's worked out really well for us to work really hard and have great customer service for a small group of people versus not so great service for a very
Yeah.
large group of people, which seems to
Yeah.
be the norm. So
Yeah.
we've really tried to turn
Exactly.
that all upside down.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think what you've done is it applies to business. It also applies to any idea that someone wants to be successful with. And that is that you find a problem that needs to be solved. And then you find an
Exactly.
innovative way to go and solve that problem.
Yeah, if you can find a gap by looking at what's available in any given industry or what's needed that's not provided, you can really take advantage of that opportunity. And that's exactly what we did. It takes some work. You have to really dig in and see what's going on, and talk to people too, right? Like what is the problem? What are you not getting that you really want? I get all the time that people say, "Oh, this seems so unbelievable. This can't be real." Are you for real? They want to get me on Zoom, look me in the eye, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
because so you gotta find that road or that path or figure out how to do something differently, more conveniently or more productively for them, less steps, better outcomes.
Right. Because it does almost seem too good to be true.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
If
And I
you're
also get, don't you want a commission? Don't you want a cut of this after the fact? And I'm like, no, I just want to provide you with 200 well-vented quality events and get you booked. That's all
right,
I want from you.
right,
I'm here to
right.
help speakers. A lot of the services out there, they don't care. They have 16,000 people on their board and they're collecting fees from them and they don't really care if they're successful or not. See, we're different. We care. We want everyone to be successful because with us, our success depends on theirs. So it's a real win-win. It's like very tied together, and that makes it very unique.
That's right. And the opposite of that is when somebody, an entrepreneur, and I'm speaking to men here who are thinking, boy, I really want to be an entrepreneur. I really want to be financially free. This is my goal in life. And so the mistake that they make often is that they create their own product, they create their own service, and then they go out and try to find a market for it.
Right. Exactly. You kind of want to do the opposite. You want to, figure out a problem somewhere that you just find or that you can address and then really dive into that. It's then you know your audience, you know your targets. I know many entrepreneurs that are, let's say, life coaches or nutritionists. And the market is just so immense. How do you tap in and really find, and you can't just email everybody in the world or just keep posting on LinkedIn, Facebook. It just doesn't work. It never pans out. You really need to find a target. And you do that by, looking into what you can do for them, who this would apply to, and like you really have to do your research.
Yeah, and you've really done that. Can you dig into that a little bit? Like how does a person, let's say they've got an idea. So what is step one and two of how do you find the target? What is it that you're looking for exactly?
Well, like for me, for example, it was quite easy because it's such a niche and I was already somewhat, I'd say I was already kind of working in it. So I had a taste of what was going on. So it was easy for me to kind of go, okay, well, this is an interesting industry. I had never heard of it before until then. And so I just started looking into it. But if you have a solution or idea for a certain industry or market, you should go in and see, okay, who else provides this? What do they provide? Would what I can bring to the plate or bring to the table be a better option or something that they don't offer? And then, okay, and who's their target? And how many of their targets would be really good targets for me? And kind of like not piggyback, but kind of like jump through that, right? And then find a list and really hone in on who is the exact person that would benefit from what you can do.
Yeah, that's
So it
so
takes time.
true. That is
Yeah.
so good. And
Yeah.
and you know why people don't do that? It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. If you want to be financially free and not dependent on anybody else and be your own boss, it takes a lot of work. When we first started out, I was doing 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. There's no weekends. There's no weekends.
Yeah.
I worked super hard I think I've been doing the calendar for going on 4 years. I worked with speakers as an agent, 3 or 4 before that. And, it never stops. If you want to make from zero to hero and become free and be successful, you have to do what others don't do. You have to commit to your project and your dreams, and you have to dig in and give it everything you got. You got to do what everybody else wasn't willing to do. And yes, it takes up all your time. And yes, you don't want to know, everyone's like, why can't you come to my house for a party? Why can't you come at Christmas? Or why can't you do this or that? It's because you have to prioritize what you want to achieve. And if going out on the weekend and going golfing and stuff like that is going to benefit your goal, great, do it. But if it's not going to, and you have other things that you really should be doing that are really going to, push you forward if you get it done faster, then you need to be able to say, no, I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to stay here, get done what I have to get done because it's going to actually benefit me, a week down the road.
Exactly right. And that
When I
I hope people
travel, sorry, when I travel, I take my laptop. I never have a day off, even now, you know,
that is commitment.
you need to do it. You
Yeah.
need to do it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
exhausting, but it
Absolutely.
pays off. It pays off. In your
Yeah.
family and your relationships and your kids, they always have to understand that you're doing this and this is the goal. And if everybody works together as a unit, then you will get there faster and then you'll have the freedom. You'll have the time, do whatever you want to do, to travel, to have family days, and you'll have the finances to do it too. So it benefits everyone to commit together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Before we started talking, before we started recording here, you were showing me your house and how beautiful it is, and you're up in Canada. Tell us where you are again.
I'm up in Quebec. Basically, I'm northern Quebec, so I'm way up in the bush. Actually, we were living in Cancun, Mexico for 6 years, and we decided we wanted to move back to Canada. So we were looking for a place to go. And I'm originally from Vancouver, and I didn't want to go back there, not because I didn't want to go live where my family is, or my husband didn't want to live where his family is, because we were looking for a place that would benefit us the most, that we could achieve the most financially and asset-wise and be becoming wealthy. So we picked Quebec because it is one of the places that is less populated. It is less expensive. So most people would say, oh, I'm just going to move home, but we didn't. We made a decision that financially, this would be the best place to go. So we just dove in and moved somewhere we don't know anybody and
Yeah.
moved up into the woods because when we first started working, within the first year, we decided that we didn't want to live in the city. What we both really desired and have for a long, long time is to live in a cabin in the woods. have big gardens, greenhouses, and live, like a free life. So life by design. And it took us 2 or 3 years to really jump through all the hoops and get all the plans and have the vision. We knew what our success looked like. And so once we had that as like a template, things were much easier. Everyone has a personal idea of success, and knowing that is going to help you a lot. Once you have that idea or that design in your brain, then you can focus 100% on that. And that's how you get there.
That's so
Don't get
good.
distracted.
That is so good. Because you've said, I read where you wrote that life by design.
Yeah, life by design. That's my
So,
motto, life by design.
so if you had to define that, what would you, if you had to write it out, what would you say life by design is?
Well, don't settle, pick, you know, only pick the things you want. Everything else can go into the spam folder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say you don't have to be obligated to do the things you don't want to do. You don't have to, you have to really know what you want, right? Have a list. I want these 6 things in my life. I want those 7 things in my life, and everything else can wait or, puff off,
And that's the
you know?
opposite. Yeah, that's the opposite of what people do. And I
Yeah.
guess I'm talking to a lot of people here that might feel, that I'm talking right to them. But honestly, there are a lot of people who do not like what they're doing. They're unhappy with their job. They're unhappy with their life. They complain about their life, and yet they don't have a design. If you
You need a
said, "Well, what do you
design.
want?" Their answers are vague.
Yeah. They don't know. That's a big problem, I think, that people just don't really know. They've never really sat down and thought about it. This is where I'd love to live, and this is what I like to look at every day, and this is the kind of people I want in my life, and or I don't want in my life. This is the kind of freedom I see for myself. This is how I want to live.
Yeah,
Right? It's so
exactly.
important, because if you don't know where you're headed, how do you get there? If you don't have a map to the destination?
Because if you nobody's going to lead you there because nobody's been there before.
And they might not know exactly where you want to go, so they can get you maybe close or give you some
Yeah,
direction. But
yeah, absolutely. You can get direction from people and you can get a lot of help from people, but you're the only one that knows what your design is.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you
Before we
live by
started talking,
design.
I got off track, but you were showing me your house and we're talking about where you live up there and how beautiful it is. And there's bears and there's wolves and there's chickens and there's all kinds of stuff that you have around there because you're in a cabin in the woods, but that was your design. And it's -8 right now,
Yep,
which to you is not cold.
not
So,
anymore.
all right, I don't understand that, but I want to go back. I want to go way back
Hmm.
because now we see this success. You have a life by design. You did this. You created this life. But I want to go way back when things were very, very bad for you. And you were telling me a little
Sure.
bit about that when we were on the phone. I want our viewers to hear because it's so easy for people to see a person that is successful, that's living their life and saying, man, I wish I could get the breaks that this person had. They
Had no
probably had
breaks.
money, they probably had influence, and they probably had somebody hand them down, a silver spoon. Give us a little bit of that story. You were in Mexico. What's going on? What happened?
Well, it's kind of there's 2 stories really.
We'll tell them.
Well, okay, so in 2013, I was just getting out of a really nasty divorce. I lost everything. It was horrifying. I had 2 kids in tow. House was going in foreclosure because the ex wouldn't pay his end of the mortgage. It was just hell. And I
Uh,
actually got really sick and in the hospital for about 5 months. And I was told I wasn't going to make it. They told my parents I wasn't going to make it. I ended up having massive surgery. It took them forever to figure out what was wrong with me. I actually had septic. Had blood poisoning, and they ended
oh,
up finding that massive infection in one of my ovaries, but they didn't know, and they couldn't figure it out. So that was scary too. So not only was I broke, losing my house, going through a nasty divorce, I was also sick in the hospital and couldn't do anything about it. So thank God I have good parents. They did help me, feed the kids and stuff while I went through that. But after that, I got back out. I couldn't work, for a couple, I guess 2 months until went back to the job I was in before that. I was working temporary in a warehouse over the divorce. And then I sold my house finally, like a year and a half later. So I was able to like pay everything off and I had a little extra cash finally. And so me and my boyfriend at the time decided we were going to go on like a trip to Mexico, a holiday. And but we were going to do it different than everybody else. We were going to do a tour. We were going to go in, rent a car, and drive all over Mexico. And we did. It was amazing. We went to like 4 states down there. It was crazy. And we decided we wanted to come back. So we went home, waited a few months, and then we went back. And when we went back the second time, we ended up buying a bar.
You bought a bar.
We just bought a bar, just like impulsively just bought a bar from another Canadian that was down there. And he was just selling, so we just jumped in, like, why not? Who doesn't want to run a bar in Mexico? I mean, isn't that a dream? So we did that, and then we decided that, okay, we'll go home and come back and, pack things up. We'll probably be down there for 3 months getting everything set up and stuff. And when we returned, they had stolen, all the staff had stolen everything, every beer, every crumble of food. So we ended up down there with a bar that had nothing in it, with no money.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. So we ended up just having to scramble anything we could to like start trying to stock the bar, and got a Facebook page and try to like talk tourists into coming in for a drink. And we managed to do that. And within a year, we were actually top 10 on TripAdvisor for places to eat in Cancun. We were all over blogs. We were in international living for best burgers and margaritas, and just our story, like I'm telling you, was in their magazine. I actually have an article somewhere I can share. I can send it to you. I
Oh,
can
I'd
my
like to
LinkedIn
see
profile.
that. So
Anyways,
yeah. So you had
that
you
was
went down there.
also crazy.
You had no money?
No, because everything was gone. I had put everything into the bar except for a little bit of living expenses and stuff. We ended up living in a cheap hotel down there for 3 months. Some dive Mexican place, while we tried to put all the money into the bar that we could scrape together to get that off the ground. That's all we had, was to try and make this bar successful. And we did, but I mean, it was a hard climb.
So how did you get the money to like go buy the product?
We just had to do it slowly, right? So we had some living cash for when we first moved down there for traveling, because we intended to go back, right? So we
Right.
had brought enough money to get back and forth. And we ended up just putting that into the bar. I didn't go home for 3 years. We were stuck down there for 3 years because I couldn't afford to get back, because
Yeah.
everything had to go into the bar, and that bar had to be a success, or we would never have gotten out of Mexico without, calling my mom or something,
Yeah.
So and we did that, and we made it a success. It was excellent,
That's
and then
amazing.
yeah, it turned out really well. You know who Guy Fury is from
I've heard.
Divers
Yes, yes,
Drive?
yes. I know who that
Dive
is.
Dive. He actually got hold of us. He wanted to come in and put us on the show. He was doing a Cancun special. So that was pretty
Really?
cool, but it didn't quite happen because, funny enough or not, but this is kind of a funny story about Mexico. The cartel blew up City Hall the week he was there,
I
because
hate it
they
when
had,
they do that.
I know, like, and they locked down the entire city for like 2 days, and Guy Fury just took off. So we never got that appointment, but it would have been pretty
Yeah.
cool. Otherwise, we would have been on that show.
The cartel ruins so many good events like that. They're the
Buggers.
worst. I love this story. It's a terrible thing that happened, but I
Oh,
think that
yes.
the mindset that you had, it's like we have no choice. We have to be
Yeah.
successful.
All bridges are burnt, all boats are burnt. You're not going anywhere. So do what you can with what you got right now. So we did.
So how
And we
did
were
you?
working every single day, like 9 a.m. to like 11, 12, whenever the customers left. I mean, it was tough. And we had no staff. So we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're doing everything all ourselves for this bar.
And it took how long to get it going again?
About a year before we started to actually like really start to turn any kind of a profit and actually manage to rent a house.
Is that right? So what kind of work you were doing some other jobs to get the money to come in to buy the product and run the business?
No, well, I had some money I had brought to return, right? So I had a couple thousand. And down there,
Okay.
you can a car full of beer for like, it's not
Yeah.
expensive to buy product. So
Right. Right.
luckily enough, we were able to. And then we just kind of built. So, okay, we'll have like, a whole bunch of people in. Great, excellent day. Okay, buy some more beer. Okay, we can afford to buy some more burgers, and then it
Yeah.
just built. slowly. I mean, it was stressful, but I mean, it was fun too, of course. But you know, both are very positive thinkers. We're not thinking, oh my God, we're stuck here, we're doomed, we're gonna die. You
That,
know?
what you just said right there is so key to
Yeah.
success
I
because
mean, imagine,
it's hard to imagine.
imagine stuck in Mexico.
But so many people that want to achieve something, they have plenty of options. It's like if
Yes.
this doesn't work, I'll do something else. And people are starting a new business every other week. They've got a new idea and they hit a wall and quit. And what you've
Yep.
done,
Quit. You can't quit.
you can't quit. You
No,
absolutely
not if
can't
you
quit.
want it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have just gone home and called my mom. But why? Because
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have, been able to have all the experiences and all the success that I did.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want success, you really have to just say, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to, slide this way or slide that way. Like the bar, once the bar started, there was a taxi strike at the market that we were at. So there was all this fighting when the buses stopped coming, which meant the clients stopped coming. And then we're like, okay, now what are we going to do? Because now we're getting half the people, if that. So now we're kind of getting screwed again. So we opened a catering service, built a huge website, hooked up with a bunch of the blogs for the tourists and expats, and started catering to the villas in the hotel zone. And that went fantastic. We were booked solid. So, that turned into that. And we still had the bar,
Yeah.
but we would do both. So
Yeah.
now we're doing two. I'd work till 9 o'clock at night and then go cater an event till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my
Get up the
goodness.
next day at 9 o'clock. You got to do it.
That's
You got to push. You
yeah.
have to want it. You have
You
to
got to
want it.
want it. I hope people are getting this. I hope people
I don't
that
want
have,
it.
you got to want it. People that have
Yeah,
had a dream for all this time and they're like, it's too hard. They don't want it bad enough. That's what
so
you have
true.
to ask yourself. How bad do you want it?
And I mean, we
Bad do
had
you want
no money. So for example, once the bar and it was too much work. We were both just so exhausted. So we stopped the bar and then we ended up just catering. And then that dries up because there's only tourist seasons. Like other times it's just completely dead down there. So then we're sitting there and we couldn't even pay our rent. So then we're sitting in Mexico. Now we have like nothing going on, no jobs, no businesses, and I can't even pay the rent. So now we're really hooped. And then I have
it?
a couple friends down there, and I know we're just so many times I've just been like, oh my God, what we get to. Anyways, the next thing we did was I had a friend down there who was running this I don't know what it was. It's like online thing for this lady who was trying to open a speakers bureau. And she goes, oh, we just need someone to send out emails. She'll send you the stuff. And so I said, okay, well, why not? I need to do something, right? So I started doing that, and that got me into the speaking industry. And then from there, I just started diving right in, thinking, wow, this is a huge industry. This is amazing. Look
Yeah.
what I could do in this. And I just started digging in and researching and finding out as much as I could. And I did that for about maybe 2 or 3 months. And then I just started calling the people that I was talking to for her. I just started saying, you know what? I'll represent you. I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
How about this?
Yeah.
And then I just
Absolutely.
started representing speakers, and it just took off from there. I finally got to go home to visit my family. First time in 3.5 years.
Yeah, I'm going to tell on you a little bit and it's all
Okay,
good.
come on.
Um, one of the hardest things to do as a speaker or an entertainer, which that's what I do for events. One of the hardest things to do is to find the right person at the conference. First of all, to find a conference. Secondly, to find the right person that you need to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
That is like 90% of the problem.
It is.
And the club calendar, which you do, actually tell people what that is.
Right. So what that is every month I create a calendar. I do all my own work. I have no staff. And that's another thing that's a good thing to talk about as well, is when you start out, don't hire anybody. Anyways, so what I do is I go through each month, like I spend 2 weeks or more per month trying to create the next month's calendar. And so what I do is I do all the research, all the deep diving, I do all the heavy lifting, they call it, for the speakers. I research each event and then I post it in a calendar. And then I do up to 200 events per month. They're ones that are already planning, they're planning that future event. We give you every detail you could ever want, the key contact, the previous speaker, the previous agenda, what they're about, their mission, or if they have a theme or a topic. We give like an extensive amount of information, and we do that up to 200 times a month, and then we share it with our clients.
It is hard to
Get to use
believe
that.
that you do that. That is so
Yeah,
much work.
it is so much work.
I've spent all day, like 8 hours in an office, trying to just find a few contacts for conferences.
Yeah.
And you can't find them because they deliberately hide that information.
They do. You have to really go deep. You have to like go look at like events from the previous year and then who they have as that contact, and then or Google that person's name and then see what's going on in that over there.
Yeah,
I'm a detective.
you're a detective, right? Because they are
I'm a
hiding.
detective.
And if you
They are
try,
hiding.
if someone in this industry, in the speaking industry, is trying to do your job, they're going to spend all their time. It is a skill. It is a
It
skill
is.
set that you do not have unless you have a lot of training. And they'll
Right.
spend all their time doing that, whereas they could just be on the club calendar. And this is what I was going to tell on you about. So for 1 year of being part of the club calendar, and it's not real quick. It's not like you just reach out to people and then they just start booking you. It's consistency. But
Yep. It was a long
but
game.
for 1 year, my return on it was 600%.
Yeah. And so many people talk about that too. And people get frustrated after 2 months. Oh, I've done all this outreach. I'm like, yes, we have to remember it's a long game. And the events mostly are taking place in a year. You just have to keep at it.
Yeah,
Keep at it and it will pan out. You have to
yeah,
put the time in, and then bang, all of a sudden you get 3, you get 4, you get 5, and then they're all happy, of course, after they actually do that.
yeah. It seems to me though, if you're getting the contact information from this conference, that that would be beneficial to more people than just the speaker.
Yes, we also cater to like comedians, entertain like musicians, because all these things also factor in. But there's lots of things that events need, caterers, all
Right.
kinds of all kinds of services, that we don't necessarily target those people, but it is an option for them to definitely use that as well.
Yeah. If I had a business that was in any way related to conferences, I would want to know who
Mhm.
the director is,
Yeah,
regardless of what it was. If I was
yeah,
in if I was in producing sound, or if I was providing DJ services
video
or
or
catering or
video or
video
anything.
or
Yeah,
anything, you've got to know who that
even
person
marketing.
is.
Even marketing, maybe they need someone to help market that,
Yeah.
market that event.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the speaker's representation and the club
It's
calendar.
well,
Is
it's the club calendar. I started out as speakers club representation, but I'm solely on the club calendar
Yeah,
now.
it's just a better title. It's easier to say, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, we're out of time. This has been so good. You know, I wanted you on here, and I knew that you had a great story, and I knew that it would be such a benefit to people because of your entrepreneurial mindset. And whether people are in the speaking industry or not is not necessarily related, but it's that idea of deciding what kind of life you want and being determined and going for it. It's the same regardless of whether you're a speaker, an entertainer, or not. Um, but but we have a big audience, so who knows how many speakers we have, how many entertainers we have, how many people that work with conferences. So for those people, and they want to reach out to you, and they're going, "Oh, I didn't know that club calendar thing even existed. I have to be on that." What do they do? How do
Hmm.
they get in touch?
They can just visit theclubcalendar.net, and there's lots of information there, and my contact information is at the bottom.
Theclubcalendar.net.
Yep.
Okay. Jennifer, this has
I've
been
always, I was gonna say, I've always been an entrepreneur. I used to run a huge sporting good distribution before I moved to Cancun too. I've been
really
working for myself for years. Yeah, I did that really successfully for oh, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
It's just, I think in some ways, entrepreneurs are they're just entrepreneurs,
Yeah, they're
regardless.
infected. They're infected.
Absolutely. Infected or possibly infested.
Yes, exactly.
We're
Yeah,
infested.
I regularly think about something else I should be doing at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, we could, you know what, we should try that.
Ooh,
It's just,
yeah.
yeah.
You can't help it. You
No,
can't
you
help
can't
it.
help it.
Yeah. And once you break free and you're out on your own, it's good and bad. But I tell you, the good way outweighs the bad.
It does. I mean, like I said, we went from not being able to pay our rent 4.5 years ago to having bought this place, 4 acres, beautiful house, no debt, no mortgage, nothing, completely financially free.
Incredible.
4 years
And yeah,
of hard work
yeah,
and living by design.
yeah. Living by design. And I want to say to the viewers, if Jennifer can do it, you can do it.
Anybody can do it. You just have to want it, and you just have to dive in with 100% effort. I truly believe that if you put 5 years of extremely hard, dedicated work in, you can catapult yourself 20 years into the future
Yeah.
just in
That's
those 5 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well,
Yeah.
listen, thank you so much for being here. This has been fantastic. It's gone by really quick. I think it's one of my favorite interviews. So thank you so much for being here.
It's been great to talk to you anytime.
Okay, thank you.